Somewhere off the coast of England, a fisherman pulls up his net. Inside, along with the fish, there's a piece of bone, human bone. It's been sitting in salt water for 8,000 years. He doesn't think much of it. This happens all the time. The North Sea has been giving up bones for over a century. Tools, antlers carved into harpoons, a perfectly preserved human skull, fished up in 2009, dated to roughly 6,000 BC. The fishermen have a name for the area where most of it surfaces. They call it the Brown Bank. If you ask a marine archaeologist what it is, you get a different answer. It's a graveyard, sitting on top of a country, and most people have never heard of it. You weren't taught about this country in school because nobody alive remembers it. It doesn't appear on any map made in the last 8,000 years. It has no name in any surviving language. We call it Doggerland because the fishermen of the Dogger Bank kept pulling up its furniture. Let's go back. 20,000 years ago, the planet looked different. So much water was locked up in glaciers that the sea level was about 120 meters lower than today. The English Channel didn't exist. Britain wasn't an island. The North Sea wasn't a sea. Where there is now cold gray water between England and the Netherlands, there was land, forests, rivers, hills, marshes full of birds, herds of red deer, aurochs, and wild horses moving across plains the size of modern Germany. And people. A lot of people. Doggerland was, by most estimates, the richest hunting ground in Europe. We know this because when the ice retreated and the climate warmed up, humans moved in fast. By around 9,000 BC, it was densely populated by Mesolithic hunter-gatherers. They built shelters from antler and hide. They fished the rivers. They followed the deer herds across what is now open ocean. For about 3,000 years, Doggerland was the actual heart of northern European life. Britain was a peninsula sticking off the side of it. The mainland we now call Europe was the edge of it. Doggerland was the middle. Then it started to drown. The drowning was not dramatic at first. It was the kind of slow disaster that you only notice across a lifetime. A meter per century, maybe two. A river that used to be a half-day's walk from the coast becomes a half-hour's walk. Your grandmother remembers a pasture where there is now a swamp. Your grandchildren learn to fish in a lagoon where she used to gather firewood. For 2,000 years, the people of Doggerland watched their country shrink. They moved their camps inland. They rebuilt. They moved again. Generation by generation, the land became smaller and the sea became closer, and there was nowhere new to learn because the old people remembered the old maps and the new people were busy memorizing maps that were already wrong. And then, around 6,200 BC, something happened that finished it. A piece of the Norwegian continental shelf the size of Iceland collapsed into the sea. It triggered a tsunami. Geologists now call it the Storegga Slide, that hit the remaining coastline of Doggerland with waves estimated at 20 to 25 meters tall. For comparison, that's roughly the height of an 8-story building moving at the speed of a car. We don't know how many people died. We know that the population of coastal northern Europe collapsed afterward, and that the archaeological record on what was left of Doggerland goes silent within a few generations. What survived was an island, a high point of land in the middle of the new sea, still inhabited, still hanging on. Modern fishermen know exactly where it was. They keep pulling things up from it. By around 5,000 BC, that island was gone too. The story should end there, but this is the part that gets strange. The descendants of the survivors are still here. They didn't disappear. They walked west into what became Britain, or east into what became the Netherlands and Denmark and Germany, and they kept living. Their DNA is still in modern Northern Europeans. If you have ancestors from anywhere around the North Sea, some fraction of you is from a country that doesn't exist anymore. You inherited the loss without inheriting the memory. And the country itself is still down there. Not metaphorically, literally, submerged. Submerged forests have been mapped on the seafloor, tree stumps in growth position, root systems intact, preserved by the cold and the lack of oxygen. Side-scan sonar has identified river channels and what may be the outlines of settlements. In 2019, a research team led by the University of Bradford began systematically mapping it. They are, in a real sense, drawing a map of a country for the first time in 8,000 years. The people who lived there had names, they had songs, they had specific ways of cooking deer, specific stories they told children at night, specific words for the rivers and the hills and the seasons. All of that is gone. The names of their gods are gone. The names of their dead are gone. The names of the rivers are gone, and so are the rivers. What we have left is the brown bank and the bones that keep washing up, and a slowly improving map of a place nobody can visit. There is one more thing worth saying about this. The sea levels that drowned Doggerland rose at roughly a meter per century. By current projections, sea levels are rising faster than that now. Not dramatically faster, just faster. There are coastal cities, entire countries in some cases, that sit at elevations Doggerland sat at 5,000 years before it went under. The fishermen of the North Sea know what is down there. 8,000 years from now, the fishermen of somewhere else will know what is down there too. The brown bank just gets bigger. So for everyone watching, and maybe sooner for the people in Europe than other places, your country will endure the same fate as Doggerland.